Hello again. Let us talk about triangles, because, that is what the next section is about. Um, so we're going to just go over the very basics of triangles today. Um, so, first of all, oh, there we go. Haha, haha. So, there are three sides, and they add up to 180, all the angles. Um, Hopefully you guys remember that from earlier classes, but it's super important that you realize that triangles, all the angles add up to 180. And we'll do a little activity that shows that when we're together. But the next thing you got to be able to do is to identify triangles. And there are three main types for angles. And then you've also got to be able to name it for sides. So basically when you label a triangle, there's always going to be two things you've got to put down. So for angles, luckily it's all the things that all these words you should know already. Acute, which is all acute angles, which means all of them are less than 90. It's a right triangle if it has one 90-degree angle. It can't have more than one because 90 plus 90 is 180. And then the last angle will be 0 degrees, which is impossible. And an obtuse triangle means it has one obtuse angle, which is one angle that's bigger than 90. This is the part that you might not remember as well. You also got to name a triangle for the amount of the congruency of its sides. So a scalene triangle has no sides equal. Every single side is different. Scalene being a word that derives from the word like messy or uneven. Isosceles means two sides are congruent. So two sides are the same. Iso meaning the same, and isosceles meaning the legs. So it basically means two legs the same. And then an equilateral triangle, all sides are congruent. And this is what I put up here. That is the symbol for congruent. I don't know why ours have this so small. Congruent. And all the angles are 60 degrees. So this is an isosceles triangle. That's why it's the color blue. And so tick marks, tick, tick. And then these two angles, they're called the base angles. They're also congruent. So isosceles. And you can kind of see it there, but I can give you a triangle and ask you, what is this? And you would say it's an obtuse because there's one angle here that is larger than 90. Isosceles because these two are the same. So just always label every triangle with two different names. One based off the angles, one based off the sides. The next sort of thing that I can do is ask you, basically, give you a problem with missing angles. And so on a question like this, you want to add the angles and then subtract from 180 because you know they add up to 180. So this is a 90. So 90 plus 42 is 132. 180 minus 132 is 48. So x would be 48. If it's a 90-degree angle, you should know that 180 minus 90 is 90. So if it's a right triangle, you could also have just done 90 minus 42. Also got 48. Another type of question would be if I just gave you these three different equations. This angle is 7x plus 3, this one's 2x plus 1, and this one is 3x plus 8. And it's the same though. You're going to add them together. But this time, there's nothing missing. You just need to solve. So you're going to do 3x plus 8 plus 7x plus 3 plus 2x plus 1 equals to 180. Because we know it should total 180. Combining like terms, 3x's plus 7x's is 10x's, plus 2 more x's is 12x. 8 plus 3 is 11, 11 plus 1 is 12. So 12x plus 12 equals 180, and we're going to solve. Minus 12 from both sides. You get 12x equals 168. Divide both sides by 12, and you're going to get x equals 14. And then kind of like from that first chapter when we're doing angle stuff, you've got to plug those back in to find out what each of those angles are. So 7 times 14 is 98. 98 plus 3 is 101 degrees. 14 times 3 is 42. 42 plus 8 is 50. 14 times 2 is 28. 28 plus 1 is 29. And then if you want to double check your work, we could actually add these three together to see if they actually do add up to 180 degrees. 29 plus 101 is 130. 130 plus 50 is 180. So you're always kind of adding these angles together and saying equals to 180. So I guess technically on this one we could have also written 90 plus 42 plus x equals to 180, and it would have turned out to be the same thing. Most people just kind of like to think of it that way better. Lastly, I could give you a missing angle on the outside, and so on this question it actually would have been what it actually looked like at the beginning was this. And I did not give you this last angle. So, but it's really the same thing we just did here. We're going to find that last angle. Bum, bum, bum. By adding these two numbers up. 53 plus 74 is 127. Subtracting it from 127, right? And that gave us the 53 that I had there earlier. That's how good my writing skills are. 53. But now we know this is a straight line. So to find this angle, we have to do 180 minus 53 to get this one. You get equals to 127. And then there's also a shortcut or a trick, is that this outside angle will always equal what these two angles added up to be. So 53 plus 74 is 127. That'll always be that outside angle right there. And that's triangle basics. The things you need to know to begin with are, can you identify a triangle by calling it an obtuse isosceles, an acute, scalene or something like that. This would be a right scalene because it's a right triangle and none of these sides are the same, And then you're going to have to be able to solve for missing angles. And then there's one more part to this that we're going to talk about in the next set of notes, which is basically the same thing we did here but with isosceles triangles. Yeah. It's always awkward when I'm done, so finished with these notes. I will see you later.